All right, welcome everybody to today's Dialogue Tech webinar titled Mobile Search and Display Ad Strategies to Boost 2015 Holiday and Year-End Revenue. My name is Blair Symes. I'm the Director of Content Marketing here at Dialogue Tech. And joining me today will be Adam Ortman, who is the Performance Media Strategist at Y Marketing. So a couple quick housekeeping items before we get started. If you want to tweet about the webinar, please use the hashtag #BoostHolidaySales that you'll see at the top of this slide and at the bottom of all the preceding slides. And if you have any questions during the webinar, please submit them into your chat box on the lower left, and we will try to answer as many of those as possible at the end of the presentation. Also, we are recording this webinar, so if you miss any of it or if you want to share the recording with colleagues or coworkers, you should be getting an email from me within 24 hours that will have a link to that webinar, so you can watch it again if you wish at your leisure. So let's go ahead and get started. Here's a look at what the agenda will be today. We're going to start by talking about some of the latest mobile and holiday stats and trends to give you a feel for what's going on before we present the search and display ad strategies you can use to help drive more sales this holiday season and to close out the year. I'm going to come back and do a deeper dive into some local search strategies that you might want to test in order to get more, drive more calls to your business. And then we're going to talk about how to measure how your marketing drives calls and sales. And again, like I said, we'll finish up with some Q&A, time permitting, and hopefully answer any questions that we didn't cover that you guys still might have. So before we get started, a quick word about Dialogue Tech if you're not familiar with us. We are providers of a platform that is the only end-to-end call attribution and conversion platform for data-driven marketers with a whole suite of tools including call attribution, IVR and call routing, conversation insights, and built-in integrations you can use to move that call data to the other marketing applications you rely on. Now I'm going to bring Adam in for a second to give you a quick introduction about Y Marketing.
Good morning and good afternoon, guys. This is Adam over at Y Marketing. Just a little bit about our agency and what we do here. As you can see, we're definitely a digital marketing team full of innovators, and we look to really and personally commit ourselves to being a great business partner for our clients, and we do that by implementing as many innovative strategies and trying to be as cutting edge as possible, trying to pivot and evolve as the industry evolves. So we do that by further, leading data-driven, all of these different methods and strategies that we look to implement for our clients. We do that across the board through everything that we do in all portions of our agency.
Great, thanks, Adam. So I'm going to start, and we're going to talk first, as I said, with some statistics and trends that we're seeing around mobile and around holiday shopping from last year. So to set the stage about why mobile is so important, the first thing to understand is smartphone adoption in the United States. And here's some recent statistics from Pew Research from this year. And 64% of U.S. adults today own a smartphone. And that number continues to rise. If you look at some of the key charts here, the one that I think is most interesting are the three in the middle in yellow that shows that over 80% of adults from 18 to 50 own smartphones, over 80%. And that really is the key demographic for most retail marketers, most automotive marketers, is that key 18 to 50 demographic. And they are very heavy smartphone adoption. You can also see the last bar at the end, 84% of people making over $75,000 a year in income own a smartphone. So that's part of the reason why smartphones are so important to marketers. But it's not just the numbers, the huge numbers of smartphones, it's how they're being used today. So here's a quick slide that I like to present that shows that people actually spend more time on their mobile devices than they do watching television, which I think is amazing. But when we're talking about digital marketing, let's set the stage with some of the other channels that most digital marketers today test in order to drive traffic, leads, and sales. For search marketing, over 50% of searches are now taking place on mobile devices versus desktop. For social media like Facebook, 87% of people access Facebook on a mobile device. That's a staggering number, many of whom only access Facebook on mobile. So desktop, you wouldn't even be able to reach these people if you did desktop advertising. For display, if you're running display ads, 60% of digital media time is consumed in mobile devices versus desktop. And you can see the stats for email and video as well. Everything is tipping towards mobile being the preferred means of accessing these different digital channels. And that's why mobile is becoming so important to digital marketers. So let's take a quick look at what happened last year during the holiday shopping season to help us get a sense for what's going to happen this year. So the first bullet shows that how holiday e-commerce, so that's purchases made on desktops and mobile devices together, the revenue from that last year's holiday season was $102 billion, which is almost a 16% increase from 2013. And that's a trend you're going to see across the board with mobile, is that how mobile use and shopping is increasing and continues to be on the rise. 23% of those purchases were made on mobile, so most purchases were still on the desktop, but that number was up 27% from the year prior. And Black Friday, which you know is one of the most important shopping days of the year, 33% of purchases were made on smartphones and tablets, up 22.5% from the year before. And the box in the corner I think is really interesting, especially to this webinar where we're going to be covering some search strategies, is that 38.5% of online transactions last year in the holiday season started with the search queries. So I think that's a trend you're going to see and a theme you're going to see throughout today's presentation, is that search is really that initial gateway to driving traffic to your site and driving sales. So I just threw this in there because I thought it was really interesting about where people are using their smartphones to shop. There might be a misconception about the fact that smartphones are not tethered to your desk. It's really interesting that people are shopping and making purchases in a wide range of areas. It's not just at home. Now these are people, this chart shows the percentage of people who made a purchase, where they made purchases. So everyone's buying from home, that makes sense. But people are also using their smartphones to shop, while they're at work, or even while they're in the store to comparison shop, while they're in their cars driving, and hopefully not driving, maybe hopefully riding in the car, but also while they're on public transit. So to and from work, riding around the weekends, people are making purchases on their smartphones throughout from wherever they are. So circling back to the role of mobile in holiday shopping, you can see on the left that 45% of holiday traffic to websites was on a mobile device, up 25% from the year before. So that again shows how important mobile is becoming and growing and increasingly becoming to holiday shopping. 45% of visits to websites during the holiday season for shopping was on a mobile device. Again, it points to the importance of the ad techniques we're going to be talking about later to drive that traffic. Well, and of course on the right it shows that even though people are visiting your site on their smartphones and tablets, they're not necessarily making purchases there. They're either making purchases going back and shopping later on their desktops, or else they're actually going to the store and making a purchase in store. You can see on the bottom how 60% of traffic was online, of spending was online last year. 84% was still in the store. So mobile is still that gateway, that first step shoppers are taking to visit a website, to find companies, and then making the purchase on a growing number on their smartphones, but also going back to their desktops to finish the purchase or going to the store. And we're talking about automotive today as well, and I wanted to make sure that I showed you some new statistics on automotive research and mobile. So you can see here when people are shopping for cars, now 51% of new Internet shoppers use a mobile device to research the vehicle they're going to purchase. And that's an 83% increase from the year before. So again, it's that trend of people researching first on mobile and then moving to the store or moving to the desktop to make a purchase. In this case, obviously, it's going to the dealership. But mobile is that very important first step that people use in the purchasing process. So now I'm going to bring in Adam, who's going to give you some search and display ad strategies to help you drive sales.
Thanks, Blair. And those are some extremely powerful stats that we just brought up. As you can see, people are shopping, people are searching, people are surfing more and more online, and spending much more of their time online, whether it's at home, whether it's on a mobile device, desktop, etc. So I did want to bring up some methods and some strategies today that do a few things. So trying to be as efficient and time-saving as possible, especially as we move into the holiday season. Try to be as localized as possible because we do see great performance coming from advertising strategies that are hyper-localized. And then lastly, we do want to expand and think outside the box and move away from just thinking that digital dollars are only affecting digital performance. So looking to really understand how behaviors look from a digital space and how they affect offline interactions and ultimate in-store sales, for example. One of the first strategies that I did want to bring up was seasonal remarketing, and this is one of my favorites, especially for those e-commerce and lead gen clients that are very seasonal. So I do have, a very generic example here regarding board shorts and coats here. So seasonal remarketing has been around for quite some time. Most advertisers that manage campaigns digitally know what remarketing is, know how to use it. But now it's trying to expand your strategic thinking here and using the tools to your advantage. So by driving seasonal consumption, you can actually use remarketing pools and cookie durations together to track seasonal purchases and seasonal consumers. So for example, I'm buying board shorts in early July due to the fact that that is a seasonal demand. That seasonal demand will also come up, say, mid-fall, right about this time of year. So by an individual being on your site and ultimately purchasing board shorts, for example, they're telling you, hey, I have interest in your brand. I have interest in your brand to such an extent that I'm going to buy your products. And that's very important information to us as advertisers because we want to make sure that we not only collect that information, store that information, but use it to our advantage later in the year when that demand may be coming up again. For example, if that individual is looking for coats. And there's two different strategies and ways that you can formulate this type of behavior and this type of advertising method. Reinforcing customer and brand loyalty. So again, like I had said, these consumers have found interest in your brand and your products in the past. So we definitely want to get in front of them again, taking advantage of their seasonal behavior and making sure that our brand is top of mind and as competitive as possible with these specific consumers. Because in reality, these consumers are actually worth more to you because they have shown previous intent. And then this second example here is driving sales through highly relevant creative and promotional strategies. So there's a lot of very great creative copy ideas that you can get here. I have some examples here. For example, loved our summer styles because we know that you bought board shorts. Check out our fall's hottest trends, for example. Throwing in promotions is also a great technique just to give a little bit more of incentive there. Due to the fact that, I have an example here of 35 and 30%, but you can even throw in a 5 to 10% promotion that I've seen work in the past, which to your business is not hugely costly, but to a consumer, one, it's attractive, and two, it gives you a lot of competitive advantage, especially within the search space, going against some of the competitors that you're competing against. Next slide, please. So I did want to break out a little bit further about this idea of collecting on-site behaviors and remarketing to these different types of behaviors. So through behavioral segmentation, we do get the ability, like I said, to track an individual's on-site behavior, what they look at, what pages they see, and ultimately we can correlate that to where they are within the conversion funnel. So usually educational results review pages on your site are typically high funnel. These are individuals that don't necessarily know exactly what they want. They're looking for a little bit of reinforcement from outside sources. Those individuals who are going to product and spec pages know what they want. This may be price-sensitive shopping behaviors here. And then obviously last, you have your checkout pages, which is very low funnel. And the consumer is actually giving you being advertisers, this information, this invaluable information saying, this is where I exist, this is where I am shopping, and this is what I need. in order to ultimately convert. So by grouping these individuals together in remarketing audiences and saying, okay, all of these individuals that are looking for more education, looking for results and reviews, we can get back in front of them using remarketing strategies and provide them with more information. For example, any warranty or guarantee information or free shipping or free returns, just to provide them with a little bit more information that they did not necessarily see the first time. And like I said, you can get very creative here with your copy ideas, especially with the product and specs. Any individuals that are price sensitive or within this portion of the funnel do react very well to promotional strategies. So like I had said before, that 5%, 10%, or depending on the sale or promotion, you can easily get higher percentages there. Next slide. So I did want to get into some advanced targeting strategies. Bullseye targeting is one of my favorite strategies, especially when I'm dealing with very localized or brick and mortar location and businesses. So there is an understanding that when you're dealing with these types of businesses, those consumers that are closest to you in proximity are worth more to you. So these would be your largest consumers, the consumers that have the greatest propensity of ultimately visiting your store and buying. And again, we as advertisers need to use the tools available to us to our advantage, taking advantage of this understanding. So as you can see here, I have a radius targeting example. This is available in both AdWords, Google, and Bing. So feel free to experiment going forward, especially if you're looking to drive more in-store conversions or in-store sales. And in accordance with the radius targeting, you also have the ability to bid adjust. So in the example here, I have the largest ring, so say this is 20 miles away from your location. You want to be somewhat competitive, so you give it 25%. And as you get closer, 50%, 75%, 100%, that 100% may be 2 miles, maybe 5 miles around your location. And this is all pertaining to the fact that an individual that is 20 miles away, that click or that interaction with your paid media may be worth $2 to you, right? But as you get closer, if these individuals are searching for a product that you supply, that $2 may become $3, may become $4. As you get closer to the location, you're actually wanting to be as competitive as possible, just due to the fact that you're trying to drive individuals into your location and ultimately have them convert. Next slide. In addition to this localization idea, so this is actually a Dialog product, the location-specific call forwarding, and this is some pretty advanced stuff that I have been impressed by and has gained a lot of efficiencies in regards to actually building out extensions on my paid search ads. So call extensions are an extension to your search ad copy that allows you to call directly from an ad. On mobile, you can even click the call, which is a very great consumer interaction point because you want to make sure that you give the consumer any availability possible to interact with your business, or you could even have sales or conversions over calls. However, in the past, say you have hundreds of locations across the nation. That means you're dealing with hundreds of phone numbers and targeting parameters on campaigns that you're having to manually hard code. So with this idea of dynamic call forwarding, Dialogtech is actually giving us the ability to use one phone number and then the caller's GPS location to dictate the call forwarding or where does that call actually go. And this is some great technology, just due to the fact that one, you do get a very deep localization strategy here, and it creates a very great experience for the consumer, just due to the fact that if they're calling specifically for a business that is in their area, more than likely they're going to be looking to call that specific location. And from an advertiser's perspective, we save literally hours of time here using these dynamic parameters and giving us the flexibility to be hyper-targeted and hyper-geocentric without necessarily having to build out hundreds of campaigns. Next slide, please. So I did want to bring up location extensions here as well, just due to the fact that we are talking about specifically mobile strategies, specifically geocentric and localized strategies. So optimized location extensions or near me extensions are a great way to interact with your consumers on a local basis. So by implementing location extensions within your accounts, I have Google specifically here, you can have many different extension options, but I'm actually going to be calling out two specifically. So the get directions and the click to call. So the get directions is unique due to the fact that it will only show specific locations that are near the GPS location of the consumer, whether this is through GPS or whether it's an IP address. Google is all about relevancy, and they're wanting to make sure that what they are showing is as relevant to the consumer as possible, hence these three nearest locations. And by giving us the ability to track the interaction with these extensions, for example, the get directions, is very powerful because it allows us to see how our online dollars are actually affecting offline behaviors. So attributing in-store traffic to and correlating the amount of that to the clicks of get direction extension interactions. So like I said before, I'm going to be touching on a few of these online, offline strategies, but this is definitely one of them. And I'm going to be speaking to a case study that I have at the end of this that speaks to how powerful this can actually be, specifically within the automotive industry. And the second example here I have is click to call. So click to call is especially powerful, like I said, due to the fact that we're trying to lubricate that interaction with our consumers. But it is especially powerful on mobile devices, due to the fact that you're not going from a desktop to a phone and having to manually type in the phone number, but you're actually able to just click. You're able to click and get connected to the business that you're looking to get products or services from, and it should be a very fluid process. So when we're looking at this information, Dialog Tech and call tracking in general does give us the ability to get a lot of information here. So the caller information, the caller phone number, call duration, as well as a lot of different variables that I'll speak to in just a second about how we can further use that data to optimize our campaigns. Next slide. So just to speak to more of how to be as efficient and as tailored as possible. So through Google, we do have the ability to have ad customizers. And due to the fact that we're focusing on local strategies, I did want to talk about the dynamic local insertion into our ads. And by using the Google Business Feed, which is actually found in the shared library portion of your interface, ads can be highly customized to a consumer's location or geo-expressed search query. So I have some examples here. For example, I'm looking for hotels in San Francisco. So Google sees this query and automatically understands that it is location-centric or localized, and I am looking for, as I stated, a hotel in San Francisco. So due to this fact, Google is intuitive enough to pull the information from my data feed, my business feed, for example, the city or state, and dynamically insert it into my ad templates that I have created. And again, this saves me as an advertiser hours and creating ads, multiple types of ads, just due to the fact that I have to be creating, every city, for example, that I have business in. The second location here is a little bit more advanced, a little bit more technical, due to the fact that your search query may be a little bit vague. You may be looking for hotels around me, for example. Google understands that this is inherently geocentric. It's inherently localized. I'm looking for something near my proximity. So by using this initial vague search query in accordance with your GPS location, Google is actually able to, just like in the previous example, pull that data out of our business feeds and serve you a very tailored, very localized piece of ad copy. So hotels in San Francisco. There's some other portions, for example, the inventory and the price insertion here that's on these ads that I have in these examples. I'll be speaking to those in just a second. But some positive outcomes that we have from getting very nitty-gritty with these ads and trying to anticipate our consumers' intent is you actually get increased CTRs through localized and further making your ad copy attractive. you get to embrace that localization and that local buying intent. And that also embraces your overall brand and increases your brand loyalty as well, especially for those localized buyers. And then lastly, you do get to drive that in-store traffic and potential in-store sales volume just due to the fact that you're literally telling people, hey, I'm near you, we have what you need, feel free to come by and see what we have. Next slide, please. And to further the conversation about ad customizers, I did want to break this out just due to the fact that they are so powerful, especially during this holiday season that's coming up. Many people are having promotions. Many people are dealing with inventories that flux during this time of the year. And ad customizers are a very easy and efficient way for advertisers to get very tailored ads with a very small amount of time in regards to actually building out the ads. For example, the inventory counters. So in the business feed that we spoke about just a second ago for the location or the dynamic location insertion ads, you could also include inventory amounts, you can include pricing, you can include any promotional information that you have, and you can also include the date that your promotion ends. So including a countdown, for example, like hurry, the sale ends in 2 days. So all of these different aspects of ad customizers are hugely powerful just due to the fact that it provides a lot of information and a very little build time. Excuse me. And lastly, especially when you're dealing with promotions and sales, using as much haste copy as possible is definitely a good incentive to provide within these types of ads or during your sales season, for example, just due to the fact that individuals can get a very clear understanding that says, hey, if I wait 3 days, I'm not going to get pumps at 20% off. So, I mean, that would be pretty incentivizing for me because, pumps are my thing apparently. Next slide, please. I also wanted to throw in some tidbits here that speak directly to call integration and call attribution. And like I had said, calls are a great way for your business to really engage with your consumers. You can provide, obviously, an infinite more amount of information, more than a piece of ad copy or even on your website. You can actually have a conversation with an individual that is directly representing your brand. And just some points here that I have found that have been hugely impactful for my campaigns is, for example, integrating your call tracking with a data management platform. I have an example here of DoubleClick Search, which I personally use and I am an advocate for. But having the ability to actually see call data imported into where I do my optimizations on a keyword level no longer gives me the opportunity to say, okay, I'm just going to be looking at just sales or just form fills, for example, if you're dealing with lead gen clients. And then you also have this arbitrary group of phone numbers on the side when you don't have integration. However, when you have integration, you're now able to see all of your conversion points in one place, allowing that keyword that was once lesser performing because you didn't have all the conversion points at the keyword level. You now have that keyword being much more powerful, much more, the performance is much higher. So you're wanting to give that keyword a lot more strength and competitiveness when you're looking at your bidding optimizations, especially if your call or a call is deemed as a qualified lead or as part of your KPIs. And the second portion here is call listening and quality control. So Blair will actually be talking about this piece later on in this deck, but I did want to touch on it specifically here just due to the fact on how advertisers can use this data to ultimately optimize not only the quality but the performance of our campaigns. So by giving DialogTech or a phone tracking platform specific keywords that we want to make sure are of high quality, so branded keywords or keywords that are associated with a specific sales product, etc., we can give these to DialogTech, for example. DialogTech will actually listen and transcribe these calls and listen for these keyword recognition. So who is using these keywords? Is it the caller or is it the agent on the other side of the phone? And that actually gives us the ability to score these calls. So now we've kind of moved away from call volume as our only measure of success. Like, how many calls can we get? Yes, we can get lots of calls. But how do we get further into that? How do we start qualifying calls? How do we weed out the calls that don't really mean anything to our business? Those fat finger calls, those calls that are less than 10 seconds, for example, those hang-up calls. And how do we optimize our campaigns and make our media dollars even more powerful by integrating these levels of quality control? And then this last point here is optimizing media to higher call durations. And like I said, the amount of information that we get from call tracking platforms and call tracking integration is extremely powerful, and call duration is definitely one of those quality control measures that we can use to optimize our campaigns. So I can have a setting, for example, that allows me to see calls that are only 2 minutes or more long. And that allows me to optimize my keywords to no longer just all calls, but only the highest quality calls. So those calls are 2 minutes or more longer. Again, we're looking to get away from just this vast number of leads at a keyword level and getting as qualified and providing as many quality leads to optimize to as possible, and ultimately increase that overall conversion propensity when we're going through these optimizing practices. Next slide, please. So this takes me to my first case study, and this is directly correlated to integrating calls into your overall conversion points and your performance. This client is within the automotive vertical, so we are looking at driving individuals to dealerships specifically. And as you can see here, we have had fantastic performance by integrating our calls into our performance metrics and our overall reporting and our overall optimizing. So you can definitely see that by our cost per lead decreasing and our ultimate lead volume increasing. Obviously, the client is very happy about this, but it also gives us a way to further track and report on consumer behaviors. So are more people inclined to call a dealership or call our call center rather than fill out a form, for example? And there are many individuals that are definitely in that mindset. And prior to implementing this call integration, we were kind of leaving those individuals out. And we want to make sure that one, they are included, and two, how do we optimize to this? And that how piece is what I was speaking to prior in integrating all of your call metrics at a keyword level, optimizing to the highest quality of call possible, and then thus you do see your returns in performance overall. And then as I spoke about earlier, especially about the get directions and the ability for you to track the foot traffic or the intent to get to a location through your get directions or through your the near me location extension, we have done some great work with these correlated numbers. So we have tracked about 53,000 plus paid media activated consumers entering dealerships. And this is an enormous number. For multiple reasons. Reason number one, we're actually moving people off of the digital platform and into dealerships where the point of sale actually occurs. And two, we get a better understanding of how individuals interact with paid media and how do those dollars actually affect their offline behaviors. So as you can see, there's a loose understanding that if our location extension wasn't there, if those directions weren't provided, would those individuals actually end up in a store? Which is a very powerful question, especially one that I go to my clients with, and definitely one that you should go to your clients with as well. Next slide. The second example here is specifically for a client existing within the cosmetic vertical. And I did want to talk about some cross-channel alignment because we have been discussing how online digital media dollars affect offline behaviors. But we also want to talk about the vice versa. How do offline media dollars affect online behaviors? So I did have a product that my client was selling. This was actually featured on the Today Show. So we did know that this product was going to be featured on this specific day. So what I had my teams do was put in a lot of due diligence, making sure that our ad copy was very well aligned with the product messaging, the product features that the Today Show was going to be featuring. Many of our ads actually included that it was on the Today Show, featuring that, giving it a little bit of a promotional appeal, so that when individuals are looking are watching the Today Show and then going online to search for these products, they know exactly what they're clicking on. They're saying, hey, this is the product that I saw on TV. This ad is clearly stating that it was on the Today Show. Hey, and these are the products that it was discussing. So taking that guesswork out of the consumer is definitely best practice here. And this extends past the ad copy because we actually did some optimizations to our website, making sure that there was Today Show copy on the website, making sure that there was images and videos and other interactive pieces that can further enforce the fact that you are coming to this landing page due to the fact that you did see us on the Today Show, for example. So aligning all of these different offline to online messaging actually just allows the consumer to have a very fluid path, a fluid journey to ultimate conversion. So an individual that may see it on the Today Show or may see a TV commercial or may hear a radio ad, for example. Advertisers have the ability to target their campaigns specifically at these drop points. So a commercial runs in Los Angeles at 3 p.m. We want to make sure that our ads are as highly competitive as possible in Los Angeles at 3 p.m. Because what are people going to do after they hear or see a commercial? They're going to jump on their phone and start searching about it and getting more information, especially if they're interested. So we want to make sure that all of your media dollars are holistically working together. And that also leads me to my next portion, which is the remarketing trail-off of what we discussed prior and how powerful these remarketing pools and these remarketing behaviors are. And by getting this understanding, especially in this Today Show example, we were able to bucket these individuals and allow for that Today Show exposure to be extended much further out than we had actually anticipated. And overall, we did see sales increase by about 2,787%, which is a huge number, while revenue also skyrocketed by about 3,000%. And this is purely due to that offline and online alignment and making sure that both teams are doing their digital due diligence, if you want to call it that, and making sure that the client's dollars, no matter where they're spent, is working the best for them. And there's a tagline here that advertisers always need to be in the right places at the right time, and so does our ads. So I'm going to actually pass it over to Blair, who's actually going to get in take a little bit of a deeper dive into the local search ad strategies that I've touched on slightly, but he's going to get into a little bit more detail.
Well, thanks a lot, Adam. That was an amazing amount of material. I hope that our audience enjoyed it and plans on putting some of those tactics to use. I wanted to talk a little bit more about local search, specifically around what to do to optimize for calls around the holidays. So here's some statistics from last year. This was a survey going into the holidays last year asking people how they plan to use their smartphones in the holiday shopping process. You can see the number one way they were planning on doing it. 40% said they were going to use search to find a local retailer. And then also there are a couple others in there who are using search to find coupons of a store they're already in, using search for an item they plan to purchase. You can see how when it comes to smartphones and mobile, search plays an enormous role in the holiday shopping process. So a lot of times when people run mobile searches, mobile searches is not just around the holidays. You can see some of the just overall trends in local search for mobile, how half of local searches now this last year were on mobile, and this year that gap continues to grow. 81.8 billion U.S. local search queries on mobile are expected to happen this year. It's a 23% growth from the year before. And if you look over at 2019, that growth rate, and we're talking about more than doubling mobile local search queries from 2014 to 2019. So it's really, if you're doing search and you have a local presence, local mobile search is extremely important to you. And here's some studies that show what happens as a result of those searches. So 65% of people who do a local search on mobile are looking to complete a purchase that day, either online or usually in store or through a phone call. So 64% of those purchases, as I said, are happening offline. So you can see how Adam touched on it also, but how local search is really doing a great job of driving these offline conversions. And up to 53% of those searchers are calling the business at some point in the process. So calls are playing a very large part of the process. And local phone numbers are preferred 3 times to 1 over toll-free numbers when you're doing running local campaigns. I'm going to touch a little bit more of that in a second. But so who's calling around local and why from search results? So here's some data. It's a little old from Google, but they haven't refreshed it in a while. But you can see how the higher the price points, the more likely to call. So in auto, for example, at prices that exceed a certain amount of money, people are more likely to call because they want to talk to a human being. They have questions they want to ask. They're not just going to go make a purchase online or go right to the store first. They want to call somebody and ask questions to clarify some things before proceeding. So when you're trying to optimize your search campaigns for local, here are a few tips. First, before I go into the tips, you should use mobile preferred search campaigns. So that means if you're in AdWords or you're in Bing, there's a checkbox you can check when you're creating your ads that says mobile preferred or just mobile. You check that box, and that means that your ads will be showed to people on mobile devices like smartphones. So that's number one, because 40–50% of mobile searches have local intent. As I showed in the slide previously, local search volumes are exploding on mobile. So when you do that, number one, use call extensions with a local phone number. So you can see an example here at the bottom, and Adam already covered a little bit about call extensions. You can see, make sure that you enable your call extensions to give people doing a local search an easy way to contact you. You want to consider using call-centric ad language. For example, we answer calls 24/7, or call your local plumbing expert now. Language like that shows that you understand that these people are running searches on their smartphones and incentivizing them to give you a call. Include location extensions. So make it easy for them to be able to click on and see where your business is so they can have easy directions to find you and visit your store or your dealership. Include an incentive to call, for example. Depending on your business, it might make sense for you to include an incentive right in the search copy, either through a site link in the bottom, like you can see for the 89% drain cleaning, or in the copy itself, like get 40% off, you can see in the top. But give people an incentive to call you. And then, of course, tailor your ad copy for that location. And Adam touched a bit about that with geo-modified text, that they can automatically do this for you. But make sure that you mention, make sure you localize and mention your location for the location the person is searching for. So I touched on call extensions briefly, but I wanted to go into more detail about how important these are. Google says that 70% of searchers use call extensions to call businesses. And even if they don't call the business from a call extension, if you have a call extension in your ad, people are 8% more likely to click through it to your landing page. So call extensions are a great way to drive not just call conversions, but web traffic and online conversions. People want to call you directly from the search results. Here are some stats from Google that shows for different agents, different industries, how likely people are to call you directly from the search result, not visiting your landing page, but calling directly on their smartphones from your search ad. So obviously these numbers are a little old from Google. They haven't refreshed them either. But you can see how still these calls directly from search play a huge role in the purchasing process. And if you don't include a call button, people actually ding you and might decide to go look for a competitor's ad instead of yours. Here are some stats that show that 47% of people will explore other brands if you don't give them that option to call from the search result. So you don't want to do that. So again, call extensions, extremely important when it comes to mobile search. Adam touched on this already, but here's some statistics on nearby businesses. There's been a 100% increase in near me searches in the past year, and 80% of those are mobile. So it just shows, Adam touched on the directions and the call extension piece as well, but it just shows how important it is to enable your location extensions and take advantage of driving calls and traffic to your store using local search. For landing pages, you definitely want to include a click-to-call option on every page. So for lead generation and things where you're used to using a form, you can still have forms as well, but people on smartphones really don't want to fill out forms. They don't want to waste their time waiting for somebody to get back to them. They want to engage with you right away, and they want to make a phone call. Plus, you can include a phone call easily on every single page on your website, where a form is very difficult and cumbersome to include everywhere. You can make it easy for people to call you. And you can see different scenarios here, whether you're calling for a quote or calling to find your local store or dealer, or running a search through a store locator at mobile to find the right store. So if you're driving all these calls through your different mobile marketing campaigns, you want to make sure that you can attribute and measure those calls and sales back to the specific specific source, you know what's working, what's not, what to invest your mobile spending on moving forward. Again, Adam provided some great case studies on the automotive area, and he touched on this point as well. But here's what happens when you don't have call attribution set up for your mobile search campaigns or any kind of mobile campaign. So someone here on their smartphone finds your business, clicks through to your site, and places a phone call. Now you're being charged for that click, but you're not capturing that conversion if you don't use call attribution. Plus, you're not able to not just get credit for the conversion, but you have no metrics and analytics around what caused the conversion. What was the keyword search? What was the landing page? What was the search engine? You can't optimize your campaigns to drive more of those quality calls when you don't know what's driving calls. You also have no visibility into where the call went or what happened on the call. And you can't pass any of that data down to your other third-party marketing applications like CRM or bid management or your analytics platforms you use to help optimize your digital marketing. So that call event might as well not even have happened as from a marketing standpoint. You can't get credit for it, and you can't optimize to drive more. So that's where Dialog Tech fits in. Adam mentioned it a little bit as well, introducing us, but Dialog Tech is a great way for you to attribute and see what the keywords, ads, and web pages are that drove every call to your business, whether from paid search or from social ads or like Facebook or Twitter, display ads, whatever marketing you're doing, you can attribute those calls back to that specific source to understand what's working and what's not. We work by giving you trackable phone numbers. So here's one example of a search that could go one of two ways, either to the left where they visit your landing page or to make a call, or to the right where they call directly from the call extension or the call only ad or whatever the ad is. But when that happens, Dialog Tech will still attribute that call to the right search engine, the keywords that drove the call, the ad that drove the call, and if they visited a landing page or other web page, what exactly drove that caller. So you'll know exactly what's working and what's not. So here's that paid search example again, but this time with Dialog Tech. You can see now you know who the caller is. You know who they are, what number they're calling from. You know where they're calling from. You know what search engine and search they ran, what ad they clicked on. You know where the call went, and you know what happened on that call. You have all this amazing attribution and analytics data you can use to optimize your marketing. Plus, you could pass that data down into all the other marketing platforms you rely on to optimize their value as well. So one tip when you're doing this, you can use data, especially if you're running local search campaigns at a national level, you can see not just what keywords drove the call, but what locations are getting the most calls. So if your campaign's running in a certain location like downtown Chicago are getting more calls than they are in downtown Cincinnati, you may want to make sure you optimize for the locations that are really working to make sure your paid search ads show up during those times. Or during those searches, people in those places. You also know what times of day people are calling from. So you can make sure that you optimize for those times of day when people are running searches and converting for those keywords. So we touched on this a bit, Adam did with DoubleClick, but make sure that you pass that call attribution data into your bid management platforms. You can see some examples of the major players below. But if you're using Dialog Tech, you can automatically do this, and it's a way for you to include keyword call attribution with the other intelligence that bid management captures, the online conversion, so that you can use those systems to automatically allocate budget to the keywords that are driving the most conversions and eliminate what isn't. And I know for automotive and retail, bid management platforms are a huge deal. Integrating call data in Google Analytics, so make sure you can track what's happening and measure all the behavior online and offline. You can do that by passing the call attribution data directly into Google Analytics, as you see here for one example. So you can see at a glance where the traffic's coming from and how they're converting both online and offline. Qualify callers automatically with an IVR. So you can set up a Dialog Tech IVR to make sure when somebody calls in, if you want to ask them a couple of questions automatically first using the IVR to qualify them. Perhaps you want to give them the option to be routed to their local store or to call and make a purchase over the phone. You can do that, set up anything you want, and Dialog Tech's IVR will automatically qualify these people and route them to the right place at the right time. Plus, you can look at reports to see, okay, if I said press 1 for sales, press 2 for support, for example. You can do reports to see who's pressing what, to see from your Google AdWords ads or Bing AdWords ads or display ads, which marketing sources are driving sales calls versus other types of calls, and you can optimize for the sales calls which you want to be spending money on. So I talked about how Dialog Tech, the data, all this data Dialog Tech is automatically collecting at the time of the call. You can use that data at the time of the call to determine where that call is being routed. Adam touched a bit on it in terms of the location. You can use the exact caller, the location of the caller, to automatically route that call a certain way to the right call center or dealership or store, whatever it is. You can also use the keyword search. So for example, whatever keyword search someone ran, you can route that call differently based on that keyword search, or the ad they viewed, or the web page they called on, or what time of day it is. All these stats that are automatically gathered at the time of the call for every call, you can set up rules in Dialog Tech to automatically route these calls to the best person in order to close the sale, which is what we want at the end of the day. We want to be able to generate not just leads and conversions, but sales and revenue. So again, Adam hinted at this too, but I wanted to show you very quickly, marketers often don't have insight into the conversations from the calls they generate. So if you're spending money to drive calls to local stores or to your call center, your sales team, you want to understand if these are good calls or bad calls. There's also a lot of intelligence you can gather by understanding what words the caller is using in order to optimize the keywords you're bidding for, or their landing page or ad copy for your website or your ads. There's a lot of great things you can learn if you have access to what people are saying, but most marketers don't have time to sit and listen to call recordings their entire day. So what you can do is use a tool from Dialog Tech called Conversation Insight, which enables you to run searches like you would in Google through actual conversations. You can run a search for keywords, for example, that you want to see which calls were those keywords spoken in from paid search, or from your Facebook ads, or from any other marketing source. So we'll automatically pinpoint, as you see in the background, every call where that word was spoken, and then you can drill in and see who said it, where in the conversation they said it, and you can literally read the conversation or listen to the conversation if you want. It's a great way to drill into and filter into conversations to find interesting, actionable insights you can use based on what's said on the call to really optimize, basically prove the value of the calls you're driving, but also optimize your marketing based on real words people are really saying during their calls. So that sums up the webinar today. I wanted to at least remind you that calls really do matter when it comes to mobile marketing. And if you're looking to do end-to-end call attribution and help convert those calls with intelligent call routing and IVRs and analyzing conversations, Dialog Tech can help you. So I know we're running really short on time here. We do have a bunch of questions. I'll try to get to some of them, but I wanted to say if you're interested in learning more about Dialog Tech, visit our website or give us a call. And if you're interested in learning more about why marketing, I know Adam had some amazing tips, and they do a lot of great work with customers in a wide range of industries. So if you're looking to get help with your mobile marketing and attribution, optimizing conversions, Why Marketing is a great partner to help you do that. So I know I tried to rush through those, but we're running short on time, and I wanted to make sure we had time for a couple questions. So Adam, if you can go off mute, let me bring you back. And I've got some here that, well, I could probably answer a few of these, but I think I'd love to hear your take on some as well. Let me see. Here's one. How do you segment your audience pool for remarketing? You want to take that one?
Yeah, I can absolutely take that one. So for tracking the behavior on your site and how to segment those different audiences, mainly I use Google Analytics, and Google Analytics is a very widely used tool within the industry. And using that tool, you're actually able to see the time, the duration on each of those pages, the flow between pages. You can even set these up within your remarketing capabilities through AdWords. So any individual that has hit a URL that has a review in it, for example. So just lumping all of these consumers into specific groups that you can you can create the pools within AdWords using the remarketing pool as part of your shared audiences segment of your interface. And like I said, to get a deeper dive into those actual behaviors, you can use Google Analytics to get a better understanding of those audiences as well.
Yeah, I'd just like to touch on one thing about remarketing. You can actually, if you're using Dialog Tech or a call attribution platform, you can actually use the call as an event in your remarketing. So, for example, if maybe you want to bid differently based on someone who has already called your business before. Perhaps you don't want to. You want to bid less on that call. Maybe you only want new customers. But if you're, for example, perhaps your business model, you really want repeat customers and you want to bid more for someone who's already engaged with you. You can use calls as a metric in remarketing, which I think is pretty cool.
Very cool.
This one I can probably answer myself. So this questionnaire is asking, sometimes the call extensions, which I talked about, don't show up in your ads. Do you know why that is? So it's a good question. Google doesn't always, you can enable call extensions, but Google doesn't always show a call extension in your ad, and there's a bunch of different reasons why. Sometimes it depends on what your ad rank is, or how much you bid, or really what other ads you're competing with during that search. Not every extension you enable in AdWords will show up for those ads. Google kind of picks and chooses. But I think if you go do a search, Google AdWords has some great support articles for ways you can increase your chances of having that call extension show up if you're finding that's an issue. Well, we hit the hour mark. I want to at least ask Adam one or two more questions while I have him here, because he's been great with the information he's provided. So let me see if I can find a couple for him. Is get directions in location extensions currently a metric you can see in AdWords?
Yes, it is. So you can look at this information. So if you're actually within your extensions tab of your AdWords interface, for example, you can look at the specific extensions, and by segmenting by click type, so there is actually a segment drop-down, you can select click type there, and that will actually give you all of the interaction points on all the extensions. So whether they clicked the headline of the site link, or they clicked on the get directions of the location extension, or they clicked on the phone number, for example, you get all of your conversion metrics, all of your traffic metrics as well, right in that one interface. So just segment by click type, and you have all the information you need.
Yep, perfect. Well, this one I could probably answer, but why don't, Adam, maybe I'd like to hear your insight on it. What is the best practice for call duration? In other words, how long should a call be before it's deemed, I assume, a higher quality conversion?
Yep. This is actually a question that I get pretty frequently from my clients as well. And this is situational, so client by client, and it really depends on how their call system is currently set up. Because usually in some larger brands, you're going through an automated system that before even talking to someone, it may be a minute. It may be a minute and 30 seconds. So making sure that, one, you understand and place some test calls and see, okay, how long does it actually take me to get to this quality point, or that may be talking to someone on the phone. If it's just a ring to pick up, like for example, there's no automated service in between the caller and the agent, I like to use 45 seconds, because that usually allows for 4 to 5 rings, and then the individual picks up, and that allows for a start of a conversation. So that's usually for smaller clients. It's usually about 45 seconds, but I've also qualified my calls up to 2 minutes, depending on, like I said, that intermediate automated system.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, for us, it depends a lot on what the industry is. What you consider a quality conversation. For some industries, perhaps a shorter conversation is just fine in order to provide, the salesperson to provide the information that the caller wants. If you're looking to use something other than call duration to measure call quality, you can integrate your call data with a CRM platform, or you can use some of the conversation insight, call monitoring, and call analytics tools I talked about earlier in the presentation. So exactly. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We're 3 minutes over. Thank you so much, Adam from Y Marketing, for showing all those great slides and those great points. If you want to again, contact Adam at Y Marketing. Please visit their website or give them a call. You see the phone number there. And if you want to talk to Dialogue Tech, I'll be sending you a thank you email just with a link to the webinar. You can reply to that or just visit our website. Thanks again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the webinar, and we will see you next time.